This is a lecture that I adapted from Hillsdale College, given by John W. Grant. So this would not be in your textbook. This is something I adapted. All right. So we're going to look at the president's war powers, which go along nicely with the assignment I gave you, Eisenhower's farewell address. So we're going to look at two things: the meaning of the constitutional text as it relates to the war powers specifically, that we kind of touched on in the presidential, the commander-in-chief subtopic unit thingamajig, yeah. In the last lesson, the president's conduct of foreign policy generally, Operation Urgent Fury. Think of that, how presidents have viewed their role in U.S. foreign affairs, what justice means, and how that's affected how presidents conduct war. So let's begin. Social compact theory. I would remember this for the final. The voluntary agreement among individuals by which organized society is brought into being and invested with the right to secure mutual protection and welfare, or to regulate the relations among its members. Again, just reading a definition. So Hobbes and Locke in particular spoke to the social compact theory. The founders believed that all men were created equal. All men were endowed with natural rights. Now, remind me what natural rights are. I'm going to squeeze that unit in sometime before the end of the semester. Can anyone name a natural right? No. I couldn't hear you. Life, yeah. Rob.
Liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Liberty, pursuit of happiness. 3 natural rights right there from the Declaration of Independence. Anything else? Ms. Davis? No, that's okay. No? All right, those are 3 natural rights. Three obvious. Yeah, one's from the Declaration. The government, the founders believed, and I mean this has obviously been ballooned out exponentially, that the government exists to protect these natural rights and only to protect these natural rights. A great proponent of natural rights theory was Thomas More, who was Henry VIII's chancellor. He's now a saint of the Catholic Church. That name also might be important to remember for a little later on.
What was it?
Thomas More. Henry. Thomas. Moore. I'll ask you more than just how to spell it, Cadence.
What?
I'll ask you more than just how to spell it when we get to the final. I know. I mean, I ask you to apply critical thinking skills. How dare I?
I don't have those though.
Yes, you do. You're like, what?
I don't have those.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
And I'm like the lower percentage of those. You know,
And how did you find that out?
it's self-diagnosis stuff.
Self-diagnosis doesn't count. So they thought that the founders, that is, that legitimate government exists to secure our natural rights through the consent of the governed. And because all men are created equal, the government needs our consent. Now, did anybody in here consent to the government? Vanessa says no. Royal Highness says no. Rob says no.
Wouldn't voting kind of show your consent to it?
That's an argument for it. Yes. Yes. Did any of us sign the piece of paper in 1787 or 1776? That particular piece of paper called the Declaration of Independence? No. And your ancestor Pocahontas was gone by that point. You have a time machine? All right. So we're living in a government, arguably, that we didn't consent to. Would anybody, if a vote was taken, consent to the government that we now have?
Now have or did that?
That we have right this second? No.
No.
No. No. Why not? What's wrong with it?
Oh gosh, that was a bad question.
No, that was the question I meant to ask. It is everything. Everything's wrong with it.
Close to it. Nobody trusts the government really anymore.
I feel like people are able to spend money to persuade which way the government should work.
Lobbying is one thing that's wrong with the government. You were kind of on that track too. You didn't say lobbying, but that was what you meant.
Paying for appointment. Like that.
Like Mr. Sunis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Completely unqualified people that are in office because of things like that.
Definitely. Definitely.
I would still prefer it over dictatorship.
Yeah. Yeah. It's certainly, what we have is certainly better than a dictatorship. This is true. All right, so the founders viewed government as a compact between equals, where we all live under a set of impartial laws for the common good. It's almost comical in a way, isn't it? Are the laws on the books impartial? No. Can you name one in particular, Cadence?
One in particular?
Yeah. It's okay if you can't. There are a lot of laws. No?
How about the difference in punishments between having cocaine and having crack? Because poor people smoke crack, but rich people have cocaine, so they're easily, like, they can pay the fine and get out and get crack or send you to prison or something. We
I
talked
love
about
that
that.
was
Yeah.
the first thing.
So are you talking about mandatory minimums, Vanessa, or
Well,
just...
the crack is a class X and coke is a class 4 felony, but it's really just one molecule off.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, it's one added ingredient and it changes the compound too, but it changes the compound.
Yeah. I believe that was brought up, the difference between crack and cocaine in the Supreme Court hearings. Yeah. That's good.
We went more into depth in my, like, social work class aspect of that law, but just talking.
Okay. No, that was a good example. It was a very good example. All right. Our rights are secured primarily through the criminal and civil law, and that was generally at one point handled by the states. Now, how are our rights secured in relation to other nations? Now, that is American foreign policy. We look at American foreign policy, we try with the aim of how our rights are secured in relation to other nations. Foreign policy is obviously a matter of concern to all of us, every single one of us. What's happening in Ukraine right now, what the pullout in Afghanistan, all these things do affect us as a nation. The founders made this the province of the federal government. I mean, we weren't doing things like that back in the day, but here we are. Yeah.
Would immigration and refugee laws be considered foreign policy or domestic, since we're taking people in from foreign countries?
Immigration and refugees laws fall under domestic
Okay.
laws, domestic category. So our social compact is exclusive. We have our government, our military, etc. That's only meant to secure the rights of American citizens. We have absolutely no duty, or so the founders thought, to secure the rights of foreigners. We shouldn't have been in Afghanistan for 20 years trying to secure the rights of foreigners, or so would say the founders. That's not our business, that's not our job. Yeah.
Now with that, would you believe, or would you want the U.S. to leave NATO? 'Cause I do, I'm just,
Would I Parker or would I James Madison, the founding father?
Well,
both, yeah.
James Madison, the founding father, would. Yeah. Would I Parker? That's a complicated question.
If you don't have an answer, it's fine, it's just,
No, I'm going to get my libertarian membership card yanked because of this answer, but we do pass out membership cards, Jill. I can show it to you after class if you want.
I was just wondering why you said that.
My gut answer is no, because the NATO alliance has and continues to protect American national interest and sovereignty. Now, was the former,
right?
was the, huh?
Potentially.
Potentially what?
No, I'm saying that they're protecting our sovereignty potentially. Like they haven't actively, really.
Oh yeah, after 9/11, yeah. The alliance triggered Article 5.
Oh,
Which
yeah,
is an
getting
attack
involved
on
in
one.
the war, yeah.
Yeah, and they got involved because that was an attack on us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that aspect. It's a self, yeah.
Also just existing
Defense.
in that alliance would protect our sovereignty. Not
Yeah.
like actively.
Yeah. Now the UN doesn't do that for us, in my opinion. Not factual, just my opinion. All right.
Not factual.
Well, there are arguments to be made on the other side of that, but I hold the opinion that the UN doesn't do that. NATO does protect us, and I'm all for protecting us.
That's another thing. They're both involved in like civil war